Is it worth it? The choices I made, are they worth it? I look at the path I chose. Were there alternate roads? Many, but this is where I'm at. So I smile big with my backwards hat. Now it's time to decide, was it worth it? Damn, was it worth it? The lane I've taken, the minds I've encountered, the beauty I've seen in a world full of tribulation. The grass is still green. While I wait for the next step, I avoid falling in line. Find my own path, not one of design. Makes things more complicated. So when I ask myself, was it worth it? I couldn't even imagine better. What it seems, I'll stand tall for my goals and dreams. When the hard times come, there will be many. I'll just proceed with constructive deeds. Stay above the banter. To say this was worth it? Hell yeah, it was worth it. Life is beautiful, so choose the right path. Set some goals to surpass the strife. Are you worth it? Please believe so. Search for happiness wherever you go. Love is around, easily found. Having trouble with your find? Here, have some of mine. It's a long day, just set some goals.
This is your man, The Drizzle, and I'm here just to let you know how things work around here. We really want to hear your stories. We want to see your art. We want to hear your music. We want to be a source of support for each other, for those around us. So, if you want to come on, have somebody there with you. I don't have to see you guys in the thing, but I have to be able to see at least two left hands, just so I know somebody's there to help you. If you don't have somebody, please reach out to us ahead of time so that we can make sure we have the proper information in case something happens. If you do come on and try to do something crazy, there is a delay. We will stop your stream and continue on like that's not what just happened. So please don't do that to us. We really look forward to helping each other. Come be with us. Good evening. I am The Drizzle, and this is Drizzle's Tank. And what do you know? You're not alone. This week, like every week, I want to start out just by, making a few points. One, I am not a doctor, a nurse, a psychologist, psychiatrist, therapist, anything of the sort. I probably couldn't take your blood pressure properly. So when it comes down to it, you understand I'm just a man with epilepsy who has struggled to try and find solutions to my problem. And I'm also a college graduate who graduated with honors. I'm very good at researching, and I'm just going through finding out as much as I can, through research studies and medical papers and things of the like. And this is just information I'm trying to pass along. Like, as I learn things, I figure this has been an issue for me for 15 years, really longer, but as far as I knew, about 15 years. And so I've learned so much along the way, and I feel like I can pass that along to everybody else. And so just understand, I'm just a guy. I'm just here to give you the same information that I'm finding out. I promise you, it's all reference stuff. It's all coming from good sources. I'm not trying to give you my opinions. It's not really, I don't feel beneficial to tell you what my thoughts are very often. I'm sure I will, but this is more or less to give you the information that I've learned along the way so that you can make educated decisions for yourself as well. Maybe help you begin your research into the topics. So give me one moment. All right. So, last week we discussed diet in relation to epilepsy, different diets that are prescribed that help out, just very, very, very simple topic that turned out to be full of more information than I had previously expected. So in some future episodes, I'm sure we're going to go over the topics again. I mean, the ketogenic diet, the Atkins diet, modified Atkins, the modified Atkins is basically what I do, and it has really been very beneficial to me. And I feel like I could go into these topics a little bit deeper on their own in a future episode. So just for reference, that's something we will go over again. I hope everybody has taken some time to go back and take a look at the episode and find out the information that I also learned. Tonight, I'm going to be discussing SUDEP. If we have some time at the end, if I run out of stuff to talk about, which something tells me I probably won't, we will cover caffeine and epilepsy. But, I want to put it out there. If you currently use CBD in place of or in conjunction with your epilepsy, anti-epilepsy drugs, or specifically take Epidiolex, and if so, have you encountered any side effects? How has it helped? Has it been beneficial? Where do you get your products from? Anything, any of that kind of information. I'm having troubles. I was able to find an all-natural CBD that I was able to purchase and have sent here to us. I've used it for the past 3 days. It seems to actually have had some benefit, as odd as it seems, but I'm not going to make any real judgments on it yet until I've tried it a little bit longer. But it is just extra virgin olive oil, organic extra virgin olive oil, and CBD, I guess. So we'll see how that goes. So if you have any experience with it, I would love to hear about your And say if you want to, Lucky, go ahead and put the link to be able to just come right up onto the StreamYard with us. So if you're interested in coming on and talking to me in the second half of the show about your experience, please just come on. We'll have the link in the chat. You'll be able to come on. We'll be able to talk to you backstage, essentially, and get everything set up. We do have an email. I'll pull it up here in a little bit when I don't have 4 things up already. But we do have an email for the podcast. I'm pretty easy to find. I'm Drizzle Stank on Facebook, on Drizzle Stank Skates on Instagram. I don't have a Twitter. I don't have a Snapchat. I don't have a Discord. I'm kind of behind in the times. I have a Facebook, and Instagram, and a YouTube, and it's about all I can handle. But we do have an email, and anybody that wants to come on and really talk to us about it, I would much prefer somebody come on to the program with me and have an actual conversation. That's what we're really looking forward to. If you'd like to come on and you're not really sure about it one week and just want to come in and get in the YouTube chat and just talk with the people that are in there and see who you would be, talking to me in front of. It's just a bunch of mostly my friends at this point. It's nobody that's, if we were all sitting in a room together, you wouldn't feel shy in front of these people. I promise you. So if somebody does want to come on, please, we'll have the link there in the chat. Possibly in a future episode. I don't see why it couldn't be something, because there are a lot of symptomatic epilepsies that a lot of the stomach issues have a connection, because your stomach and your heart and your nervous system all seem to connect on the same things, and they go up the same nervous points, your vagus nerve and stuff like that. They all seem to be connected. And one of the topics I'm going to discuss tonight actually is one of the things that it talks about is stomach issues and such, for how these nerve stimulation therapies are beneficial for different stomach problems and such. So, but we'll get there at some point. Tonight, like I said, we're going to talk about SUDEP, which it's kind of a grim topic. If you're unfamiliar with SUDEP, it is sudden unexpected death in epilepsy. Is the term used when a person with epilepsy dies without warning, and where the postmortem fails to establish any other cause of death. So, somebody has a seizure and dies. Maybe they had a seizure at nighttime and they asphyxiated themselves into their pillow. They choked on their tongue. A lot of things happen, but people die just from having seizures. I mean, people see me every day. I seem perfectly healthy, but I could easily die in my sleep. It's not out of the question. Sometimes my wife has to do things to help me even awaken in the morning, because I'll be having seizures in my sleep that I can't come out of. So she has to medicate me in order to be able to come out of these episodes. The other part of tonight's topic is SUDEP in relation to the vagus nerve stimulator, or VNS. What is VNS? Vagus nerve stimulation involves the use of the device to stimulate the vagus nerve with electrical impulses. And implantable vagus nerve stimulator is currently FDA approved to treat epilepsy and depression. There's one vagus nerve on each side of your body running from your brainstem through your neck to your chest and abdomen. I got that from the Mayo Clinic. It's about as straightforward as it gets on what the vagus nerve stimulation is. But there's a lot to it. It's very deep. It's a very deep topic, and the more I dig, the more I find. If you have a VNS and would be willing to come on and tell me about your experience, either embolden or lessen my thoughts and expectations of it, someone's public discussion with me would be beneficial to more than just myself. Anyone who ever watches this stream in the future who may be encountering the same scenario can find this information and use it to help guide their discussions about the topics with their doctor. We are all better when we learn and help guide each other through ignorance. We are stronger together. So be brave and come chat with me. Honestly, I mean, that's really what I'm asking. Come tell your experience, help others out by just come on, be brave. It'd really be helpful. So really tonight, I want to discuss SUDEP in relation to epilepsy and the risk statistics correlated with it when somebody has the implant, in relation to when they don't have the implant. Why is this something that comes up as of interest to me? Well, because lately it was determined that I am not a candidate for the responsive nerve stimulator. So there are other forms of stimulation therapies besides the vagus nerve stimulation. I've spoke about them in previous episodes, but realistically, the responsive nerve stimulator is one that goes into your brain. They have transcutaneous styles. They have there's a lot of different things that they use. But the one that this year that they were trying to determine whether it was going to be the correct one for me was the responsive nerve stimulator. I was out at Duke. It turned out I am not a candidate. My seizures are too generalized, and they wouldn't be able to put it to enough parts of my brain to make it worth it. Or something of that. I don't know exactly. I guess they just haven't. They're not advanced enough in it to do that many thingies at one time. So that's not going to work out. And I'm refractal, so I can take as many pills as I want. They either work for some time and then stop, don't work at all, or I have such severe side effects that I've had a couple that almost killed me. So I'm reluctant on medicine always. So the last year or so has been a question of do I need one of these stimulators? Now that I was determined not to be good for the responsive, they referred me to the Mayo Clinic in Orlando to begin researching whether or not I needed the VNS. So that started my journey of research. I didn't really seem to get very much information from my doctor. They don't do the procedure around here, so it wasn't something that they were able to discuss personally with me. They were able to kind of determine whether it was something that might be useful to me, but they couldn't even tell me whether it was going to be the proper thing. So one of the main statistics that stood out to me as I was reading, yeah, I'm talking about all that, I assure you. So yeah, it's, don't worry. They were saying that in some studies it was more likely, and in some studies they were saying it was less likely that somebody would experience SUDEP if they had a vagus nerve stimulator, which to me, I don't like when things are that far up in the air myself. And I wasn't finding a lot right off the bat. So I really started to dig. Was it so common that it needed to have its own devoted research study? And the answer was yes. And there was a lot of studies done, but they differed in what outcomes they had come to. Throughout the years, it seemed every time they would do one of these big studies, they'd come up with a different response. Where they were in the world, they'd come up with a different response. So it was hard to correlate the two studies together once they were completed. That was for studies that determined whether the VNS had any.
So there was a different outcome for different countries?
Yeah, different countries and different studies had different what they found was different. Like some countries, they found that the people that had the stimulator seemed to be dying more of SUDEP, and in other countries they were dying less.
Are they third world countries?
No, it was like places in like the UK and the United States and China and stuff like that. So I mean, it's
a large variable.
Yeah, they're filled with a lot of different cultures. All those countries have a lot of different cultures in them. So it's not like
What about for U.S. studies?
That was the thing, is there weren't many. A lot of it was done in the UK, but let me keep going here. So did having a VNS risk increase the risk of SUDEP? I wanted to know. I wanted to know. Is it something that if I do end up going down to Orlando and I get this vagus nerve stimulator, is there a chance that I could die? That's more likely than what I was going to have prior to going to Orlando. I mean, I was like, man, that's deep. That's deep for me to even process. So I just started looking. One of the first places that I figured I would go to try and think about it, I'm like, I guess in order to know if it makes a difference whether you have the VNS or not in SUDEP, I have to really know about SUDEP. And it's not like I'm a doctor, so that's where I started. So I got let's see here. Ooh, ooh, ooh. right, you see that there, Lucky? Yeah, go ahead and pull that up there. Make you a heifer. There we go. Okay. So really, I guess I wanted to know first what was SUDEP, and that, like I said at the beginning, it's the sudden unexpected death in epilepsy when there's nothing else besides a seizure that seems to be the reason for death post-mortem. Was it common? How common actually is SUDEP? Well, I could tell you what I think, but that's not going to tell you much. So I'm going to refer here to SUDEP.org. I'm going to read you exactly what they say, because I feel like this entire section is important. So allow me to just read this. How common is SUDEP? Sudden death is estimated to be nearly 24 times more likely in people with epilepsy than in the general population. It also disproportionately affects young adults, which may explain why epilepsy deaths are in the top 10 of all causes of premature mortality in the UK and represent a significant public health burden. The data suggests that SUDEP deserves the same attention as other life-threatening events such as SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, or sudden death associated with heart disease. Recent studies estimate the incidence of SUDEP at about 1 death per 1,000 people with epilepsy per year. Reported rates may be underestimated because of poor case identification due to lack of awareness and inconsistencies in the investigation and recording of the deaths. In adults and children with medically intractable epilepsy, rates may approach 1 in 100 people per year. It appears that children have lower rates of SUDEP at 0.2 to 0.4 deaths per 1,000 among the population affected by epilepsy per year. However, rates of sudden death in children with epilepsy may still be more than 10 times that of children in general population. So it's not happening to everybody, but boy, oh boy, it's happening. And it's happening to kids. It's happening to adults. And they're having different ideas and results everywhere they go. That didn't help my search. All right. What causes it? It's unlikely that a single cause will explain all SUDEP deaths. Well, obviously. That's the thing. Is there's so many reasons that somebody could die anyway. In their sleep, suddenly. What are my chances? What are the risk factors? What things were going to mean that I was more susceptible to this sort of issue? Well, the severity of someone's epilepsy is the most reliable risk factor. Generalized tonic-clonic seizures make a person more likely to experience SUDEP, and the risk increases with the number of convulsive seizures per year. It should be noted, however, that there are deaths every year in people who suffer infrequent seizures too. Other factors that have been identified include nocturnal seizures, young adult age, poor adherence to epilepsy treatment, earlier age of epilepsy onset before 16 years of age, longer duration of epilepsy, symptomatic epilepsy, and male gender. So
being a guy itself makes me more at risk. Well, all right, well, that's a bummer to hear. Nocturnal seizures, it's one of my biggest issues. Luckily, I'm not a young adult. I'm past that part of it. Poor adherence to epilepsy treatment. Right now, I don't even have a treatment plan. I don't take meds. I don't. Other than my diet and that bottle of CBD I bought 3 days ago, I don't have a plan. Longer duration. Luckily, my seizures don't usually last too long, and I have my wife to help me. She's usually around to medicate me. And symptomatic epilepsy, who knows? I have a skin disease. I have all kinds of things that have potential to be connected to my epilepsy. So if all of those things raise the chances of me dying, that kind of stinks, because that's 4 out of the 7 there I'm working with. So it makes me nervous. It truly makes me nervous. So knowing what causes it, what my chances are, it kind of made me feel a little bit better, because even though it wasn't good news, at least I now know what I'm working up against. What do I have to start looking towards? Now I have the next part of my research adventure, and by golly, next step would be, can it be prevented? And luckily, the SUDEP.org had covered this as well. And I don't see anything as beneficial as just reading you what they have, because it's well written. So allow. National clinical guidelines recommend that the risk of SUDEP can be minimized by optimizing seizure control and being aware of the potential consequences of nocturnal seizures. Aim for prompt referral of people with uncontrolled seizures to a specialist epilepsy team. Ensure that patients are taking their seizure medication correctly. Talk to patients and their family members about SUDEP and ways of reducing the risk. There is some evidence that nocturnal supervision in form of room sharing or monitoring devices may reduce the risk of SUDEP, although this requires further study. The Center for Maternal and Child Death Inquiries, CEMACE, report in 2011 found that 11 of the deaths of 14 women with epilepsy who died in pregnancy were SUDEP. Amongst their findings from these epilepsy deaths, they highlighted the need for awareness of maternal epilepsy as a high-risk condition, awareness that some women stop their medication during pregnancy. That's pretty important. Women with epilepsy to be offered pre-pregnancy counseling and be advised of the maternal risks in pregnancy complicated by epilepsy. An awareness that most women with epilepsy who are treated with lamotrigine need higher doses to balance the fall in drug levels in the blood during pregnancy. Further information about the importance of providing information about SUDEP can be found in the below chapter. It goes very deep into it. This link will be available. I recommend it if you're trying to learn more Follow this webpage. There chapters 1 and 2, the part 1 and 2 that are set here on this page go into more information than I could possibly cover in the amount of time that we will be here tonight, but it's good information. What can be done after SUDEP death? The aftermath of SUDEP is often traumatic and complicated for a family and distressing for professionals. Our support team of qualified counselors have expertise in the area and are advised by experts and pathologists, is what this place claims. Use our resources. And they put the link right to it. Right to it. Make sure that... So... these resources that are listed, very, very simple. SUDEP and seizure safety checklist, support services, just they're back to that page we were on, downloadable information, awareness training, guidance policies, emergency medication training. There's other stuff too. That's not the only stuff they have on this page. And between them and all the other epilepsy support and different organizations out there, there's a lot. There's a lot to be able to observe, to help avoid this. I have 2 kids. I have to avoid this at all costs. They're young. They need their father. My wife needs her husband. I can't have this be my outcome. I cannot allow this to be my demise. Let me see here. Looking for, I apologize. I'm looking for something I thought I had pulled up here. Nope. Tis not it. Well, the seizure safety and support checklist was one of the things that was brought to my attention recently. Truly coming up with, like, writing down exactly what it is that I need to do to make sure that I'm protected. So this was step 1. So, let me see. Boop. That is an ad.
Asking yourself, can you actually create high...
Almighty. I apologize. There we go. Let's try that again. All right. Go ahead and pull that one up there.
People with epilepsy can lead full and active lives. However, like other long-term conditions, epilepsy does come with some risks. It's important to know about them, as if left unchecked, these can become very serious. People with epilepsy can be at risk of dying prematurely, so knowing about epilepsy risks and how to reduce them is important. In the UK, approximately 21 people with epilepsy die each week, over 1,000 a year. Research suggests that at least half of these deaths could have been prevented. Because of this knowledge, SUDEP Action, the only charity dedicated to tackling epilepsy deaths and raising awareness of epilepsy risks, has worked with experts to create free award-winning tools to support health professionals and people with epilepsy to discuss and review epilepsy risks. People with epilepsy are at risk of dying because of things like accidents, suicide, drowning, or status epilepticus. However, up to half of all epilepsy-related deaths are due to something called SUDEP. It stands for Sudden Unexpected Death in Epilepsy, where a person with epilepsy dies suddenly and no reason for death is found. SUDEP is the cause of death for approximately 1 in 1,000 people with epilepsy every year. What causes SUDEP is currently unknown. Research suggests that there could be a range of causes, such as the effect of seizures on breathing and heart rate. Researchers identified risk factors linked to epilepsy deaths and SUDEP, for example, people whose seizures are not controlled by medication, known as active seizures, are at increased risk. For those having tonic-clonic seizures or seizures when asleep, nocturnal seizures, the risk is also higher. Young adults between the ages of 20 and 40 years are at increased risk. It is important to remember that risk factors are very individual, and risks can change over time. This is why it's vital individuals with epilepsy, their families and clinicians know about epilepsy risks and regularly review them, so positive actions can be taken to reduce them where possible. Even those who have fewer seizures or who are currently seizure-free should know about epilepsy risks and have a regular review of their epilepsy to check nothing has changed. People with epilepsy, their families, carers and health professionals can all play a part in helping to reduce epilepsy risks. SUDEP Action, together with the Cornwall Partnership NHS Foundation Trust, has developed a SUDEP and seizure safety checklist, which is a free tool for health professionals to support their risk management and risk communication with people living with epilepsy. The checklist has won numerous awards for its groundbreaking approach to improving epilepsy care. The checklist is quick and easy to use, helping positive discussions about epilepsy risks and how they can be managed. The checklist is created using the latest research evidence and is supported by leading experts. Health professionals can register for the checklist from www.sudep.org/checklist. If you have epilepsy, why not tell your health professional about the checklist? People with epilepsy can also download our free Ep5 app, a quick way to regularly check on your epilepsy risks and well-being. Simply go to www.sudep.org/Ep5 and download it for free. To learn more about epilepsy risks, head to our website, www.sudep.org, and visit us on social media. Knowing about risks means positive action can be taken against them. Speaking openly, honestly, and regularly about epilepsy risks, including SUDEP, really could save lives.
So I found that video to be very beneficial, so I wanted to share it. That's where I got started. I mean, realistically, this week that's where I've started my process is creating my checklist. Every day I find something new that I need to add to it. My passwords and stuff to my computer. I keep having to change them and then I forget them almost immediately. So I'm finding that this all is very important, and I haven't been taking advantage of it like I should have been. These are all very easy steps that having a checklist, that's as simple as it gets. That's as simple as it gets. And as a grown man, there's no excuse for me to not come up with it. Now, I'm sure not everybody has the potential to do it as easily as I do. Maybe some people are going to need some help. And I hope that the people out there that do need help are able to find and get the help and have the care team and have some support to be able to help them have a proper checklist. So with that, I figured, well, now I guess I kind of understand what SUDEP is. I have risks of it, so it's something I need to think about. Okay. Well, they just referred me to Orlando for potential vagus nerve stimulation. And the thought of that makes me nervous. Just like how the responsive nerve stimulator did. The idea of having something implanted into my body that isn't supposed to be there, my body, I get allergic reactions to bug bites. I react to everything, and one of the things that I read about the vagus nerve stimulator was itching and sensitivity to the area where it's at and where they've got it run down and such. So, like, well, I think I need to learn more about this vagus nerve stimulator. So that's where the next part of my journey brought me to. And so, turns out there's not a lot of people that do it. There's not a lot of people that have it. As I look into it, for epilepsy reasons, 125,000 or something. That's not that many. When I had my LASIK eye surgery done, the doctor who had done mine had done like 90,000. He had been doing it for, since the beginning of LASIK eye surgery. And I went from being basically blind that day to I haven't worn glasses or contacts in many years. And that day, I actually had some trouble because I was nervous before I went, and I decided I lived in California at the time, so I had a medical marijuana license, and I decided to smoke some marijuana before I went into the surgery. And so apparently my eyes dried out so much they couldn't get them to remoisturize. And they had just begun doing a new technique where they cut your eye with a laser instead of with a blade. And so they told me my eyes were too dry to use the laser. And the doctor says to me, "Don't worry about it, man. I've been doing these for so many years." He's like, "I'm just going to have to do it the old way." He's like, "I've done thousands of them. I got you." Like, oh, okay. And he was so confident. He made me feel so confident right there in the moment. And then I can see amazingly. It was one of the best experiences of my life. That guy's done almost as many of those at that point in time as there had been vagus nerve stimulators done in the United States. That doesn't give me a lot of faith. And then to realize there's not a lot of companies that make the product. Really at all. Because the companies that did came along and then went out. And now all the information that they had about their products that are still, some of them are still implanted in people, they can't even get the information from the company because the company doesn't exist. So they can't even use it towards the research, towards future research. It's like, man, they can't, that's just not just available somewhere. Apparently not.
That's why we need AlOnE.
I don't know. I was shocked. I was shocked to learn that information was no longer available. So I went digging. I said, what if I go down to Orlando to find out that if I do need one of these, that is it worth the risk, even if I do need it? Is whoever's going to do it going to be skilled enough to make me feel confident? Will they have enough information once I get down there to satisfy me? Because I mean, obviously, I wasn't satisfied with what my doctors told me here because they didn't know. And I didn't sit around and wait. I'm in here, allowing the internet to explain things to me, hoping that the information that I'm finding is worth it. I came to a company that if I end up in Orlando, this is who would end up having their product in me. And I'm not here to boast their product. I don't know them. I'm not going to say this is an advertisement for them. I'm just saying this was my option. But I did appreciate their website. I found it very beneficial towards making me feel more at ease about the product itself, about the potential experience. The other problem I found was the more I kept researching and the more I kept looking into the product, the more I read on their page and in the research studies that I had found, the more it was coming to my attention that I don't think I qualify for this one either. Tis life. It's not completely shut out yet. It hasn't been determined or said by a doctor that I don't need it. But I'm pretty good at reading. I've been dealing with it for a while. So, I mean, I know how to add this and that together. It's an unfortunate blow. But the information that I found, I have to share with other people. Who would I be to go and learn this information and not share it? because it was good to know. It was good to know. So, pardon me real quick. What is vagus nerve therapy and how does it work? Well, it's a neuromodulation treatment designed for people with drug-resistant epilepsy 4 years of age and older with partial onset seizures. Well, I have generalized complex tonic-clonic seizures. Bummer. It can safely lead to fewer and shorter seizures and better recovery after seizures. Wow. So, that's a bold claim. It can safely lead to fewer and shorter seizures and better recovery after seizures. That's, for some people, that's the world. That's the difference between living a life and living in hell. Medication alone isn't the answer for a third of people having seizures. Seizures that continue after trying at least 2 appropriately prescribed anti-seizure medications are considered drug-resistant epilepsy. Studies have proven that adding more medications is not likely to control this kind of epilepsy, but despite this data and what we know about the risks of living with drug-resistant epilepsy, many people continue to be prescribed multiple medications instead of being evaluated for non-drug therapy options. That was me. I've had 11 different drugs at this point, and it's actually 13 because I still have 2, but those aren't AEDs. Those are just emergency drugs that shut my brain down, basically. If you've tried multiple medications yet continue to have seizures, it may be time to consider alternative treatment options. Well, that's where I've been at for the last few years. It's been crazy because it's hard. It's hard because I'm on Medicaid at current. I haven't made any money in a while, so they want me to go on disability, but I'm just like, I don't want to set myself up for that. I want to get myself healthy again so I can go back to work and be a part of society, because that's the type of person I am. I don't foresee myself being disabled. I don't feel that for myself. And so I'm working as hard as I can to make sure that I can go back to work eventually. Some people need this to have that, to be the opportunity. The VNS is an add-on neuromodulation treatment designed for people with drug-resistant epilepsy, 4 years of age or older with partial onset seizures. It can safely lead to fewer and shorter seizures and better recovery after seizures. VNS therapy is a small device implanted under the skin in the chest and connected to the left vagus nerve in the neck. VNS therapy delivers mild pulses to the brain, through the vagus nerve, to help prevent seizures before they start and help stop them if they do. So, let me continue. Where the heck am I on? Trying to find the bottom part here. So this is where I read the VNS therapy has been used to treat more than 125,000 people with drug-resistant epilepsy, including 35,000 children, and has over 25 years of data to support it. Like I said, that's not that many. But that doesn't mean that it's not helping these people. Just because it's not going to help me doesn't mean that my fear of it should stop anybody else from making sure it doesn't work for them. For sure. 35,000 children. I don't know how many of those it's helped, but I hope it's all of them. hope it's all of them. I hope it, even if it reduced their seizures 2%, I don't give a shit. As long as it helped them. That's what's important to me. Designed for more seizure-free moments. VNS therapy has proven to not only help reduce the number of seizures, it may also reduce the length and severity of seizures that do occur and improve post-seizure recovery. In studies that compared the effects before and after being treated with the VNS therapy, many people experienced fewer seizures, shorter seizures, less severe seizures, and improved post-seizure recovery. In addition to its seizure-reducing benefits, VNS therapy may offer meaningful quality of life improvements. These improvements may be related to the ability to think or communicate, or could be related to one's general outlook on life, all of which can go a long way toward helping reduce the constant fear of a seizure so you can focus on the things that matter most. VNS therapy has been shown to offer significant improvements related to memory, achievements, verbal skills, mood changes, seizure clusters, postictal period, alertness. I could use all that. Glad you guys can see that. Back in school, dancing and smiling. I don't know Miriam, but I hope she's living a great life. So instead of me trying to explain that last part there, I'm going to play this video. I think this video, this one explained the most to me. And honestly, I may even play this one after I play this, but this one in particular, I feel this one was important to me. So I'm gonna put this up on full screen, and go ahead and you can put it all the way up to full and hide me, Lucky.
If you struggle with drug-resistant epilepsy, VNS therapy might just be what you need to improve your quality of life. Here are a few benefits. VNS therapy is not a drug, so there is no need to worry about any drug-related side effects. The implanted VNS therapy device offers customized therapy delivery and can be programmed to operate on a specific schedule best suited for your epilepsy. There is also a VNS therapy magnet available to carry or wear, similar to a watch, which can be used to deliver an extra dose of stimulation in an effort to stop or shorten the duration of a seizure and improve recovery after a seizure. VNS therapy is a safe and effective add-on treatment designed for people with drug-resistant epilepsy, 4 years of age and older, with partial onset seizures. Designed for more seizure-free moments, VNS therapy may not only help reduce the number of seizures, it may also reduce the length and severity of seizures. VNS therapy has been shown to offer quality of life improvements. 50% of patients and caregivers say they worry less about seizures because of their VNS therapy device. Individual results will vary with each patient and have been shown to improve over time. Talk to your neurologist today and see how VNS therapy may help improve your quality of life.
All right. I found that video very beneficial, and I hope other people that are watching tonight will also get some information from this. I'm allergic to like everything. I was really banking on this one. I was really hoping that this was going to be the answer. That this was going to be the solution. Doesn't mean it can't be other people's solution. So I hope tonight that if this is something that you've found to be potentially one of your options, this helps you in your research moving forward. I just because I didn't learn the information I wanted at that point, though, I didn't want to stop there. I didn't leave my research there, only because I felt like it was incomplete. And if I was going to discuss this topic with other people, that I had to continue. You know, I set out with a mission to see did the vagus nerve stimulator make a difference? You know, for people that are drug resistance that are treated with the VNS therapy, what happened under long-term surveillance? And that's what I dug for. And so I'm gonna take a break real quick. I'm gonna play you a song that I looped together yesterday. Just a nice little beat, nothing too fancy, just something nice to listen to for a few minutes, and then I'm gonna get a couple pages set up here for the second half, and yeah, let's see here. Yeah, you got her. All right, everybody, enjoy. Hi, it's me again. Can you believe it?
No.
Welcome to the second half of the show. I don't believe anybody has shown up to discuss any of their personal experiences again this week. But I'm still going to hold out hope that somebody out there has had a seizure and either wants to tell me about their CBD or stimulation therapy or their experience with SUDEP, maybe a family member. It doesn't even have to be you. All discussions are helpful. So please, anybody that feels like chatting about epilepsy, please come on. So, right off the bat, I started looking specifically. I mean, I figure the one nice thing about the internet these days is you don't have to guess when you go searching for things. You can type in exactly what you're trying to figure out. You can know exactly what it is you want to know if you just search just right. So I looked up the long-term surveillance of SUDEP in drug-resistant epilepsy patients treated with VNS therapy. And by golly, can you believe it? I might have been a couple words off from that, but it was pretty darn close. And voila, I got a research study, an observational study that couldn't have been any more on point to what I was looking at. And I found it to be very, very beneficial. It had some very, very important information in it. And as you can see, it's not very complete at this point here. You have to go in, you actually have to go into the study and open it up. It has parts. But just the very simple information that comes on this page right here alone was very, very important. So I'm going to read it to you. Like most other things, once again, I'm just a guy. So if I told you what I thought, I'd be wrong. Let me tell you somebody else's observation. But let me once again point out, this is an observational study. So this is somebody's observations of what they've observed. So the limited data are available regarding the evolution over time of the rate of sudden unexpected death in epilepsy patients in drug-resistant epilepsy. The objective is to analyze a database of 40
everybody. I don't know what's happening. Drew froze. So we'll be right back. Do we have anything to play for them in the meantime?
There's peaches screaming.
How about what is this placeholder one? What is that?
That's the one that's like, you're watching Bears.
Oh, I don't know what to put up here.
The one that says BRB is just fine. And then put some music on it.
All right.
Meat butter commercial.
Oh yeah, I can play Meat Butter. Just for Drew.
Do you love margarine and polystyrene foam? Move over, Twinkie. This may outlast you in the apocalyptic times. You can rely on old meat butter for your end times. Meat butter. Not to be confused with ham. That comes in a can. The best hams don't come in a can, and you need a plan in the apocalyptic times. That's where meat butter shines. Try meat butter from the makers of Spam. Your dog will thank you. Or will they?
Meat butter. Meat butter is not for human consumption or animal consumption. Please do not, by any means, feed meat butter to anyone you know or ever will know. Meat butter is very harmful, toxic, and will cause death. Not responsible.
There's Drew. You were like, you froze. We didn't know what happened.
I don't know what's going on. Everything in the house is working except for my computer that I was doing the stream on. So, I apologize, everybody, for the delay.
They got a Meat Butter commercial.
Hey, at least we. Yeah, I hope. It's hard not to love the Meat Butter commercial. It's pretty awesome. I have everything sitting right here. Can you hear me just fine? Because I'll just continue on this if that's what's necessary. That's absolutely fine.
Everything is perfect.
Yeah.
So I'll just sit.
What article were you looking at? Is it in our folder for today's show?
I don't know. That's a good question. It should be on the Word document. It's the PubMed and CIB NLM HGov 29.
I got it. I got you.
Fantastic.
This one right here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
All right. And this is why we work together. This makes it. I'm so glad that worked out so much better than if I was just still sitting here spinning on them. So thank you very much, Lucky. So I don't know exactly where I was at. Where did I freeze up, Laura?
I don't think you didn't get into this yet. Like really, you were very at the beginning of this.
Yeah, you just opened the article.
I just opened the article.
Yeah, so you might as well start over.
Okay, so all right then. So basically, when I started into the research, it was to learn about what the difference was between my risks of dying of SUDEP with or without the vagus nerve stimulator. And so my first choice was to go searching. And the one nice thing about the internet these days, if you go researching something, the more specific your search, the better your result is going to be. So if you write an exact question or an exact statement of what you're looking for, you're gonna get it. The study here from the National Library of Medicine, it's an observational study, but it's the National Library of Medicine. It's not like I got this from thin air. This is good stuff. And the article is much longer than what I'm going to go into tonight. There's a lot of resources that went into it, so far more than I could possibly cover. But I wanted to just at least read the information that's on here, because I found it to be very, very beneficial to to the beginning of my research into the topic, because even if I didn't end up with the vagus nerve simulator, I wasn't going to come on and leave the topic wide open. Oh, it's not going to work for me, so let me leave everybody hanging. Well, no, I'm sitting here. I ain't got nothing to do, and I want to make sure other people get to hear the information as well. So allow me to read this to you. This is just the abstract. The study is far bigger than this, far longer, far more than we could cover in the 2 hours that we have here this evening. But allow me. The objective. Limited data are available regarding the evolution over time of the rate of sudden unexpected death in epilepsy patients, SUDEP and drug-resistant epilepsy. The objective is to analyze a database of 40,443 patients with epilepsy implanted with vagus nerve stimulation therapy in the United States from 1988 to 2012, and assess whether SUDEP rates decreased during the post-implantation follow-up period. The methods. Patient vital status was ascertained using the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention's National Death Index. An expert panel adjudicated classification of cause of death as SUDEP based on NDI data and available narrative descriptions of death. We tested the hypothesis that SUDEP rates decrease with time using the Mann-Kendall non-parametric trend test, and by comparing SUDEP rates of the first 2 years of follow-up, 1 to 2, to longer follow-up, 3 to 10 years. The results. Their cohort included 277,661 person years of, I don't know what that's the person years of follow-up, 3,689 deaths of the people that they were looking into, including 632 were SUDEP. Primary analysis demonstrated a significant decrease in age-adjusted SUDEP rate during follow-up. The sensitivity analysis confirmed these findings. If you look into it, you can see their numbers are there. It's more complex than I can explain. So you really have to read into the study to get what they're trying to explain to you right there. Possibly in a future episode we can jump into this a little bit deeper, but for today we'll just continue. So their data suggests that SUDEP risk significantly decreases during long-term follow-up of patients with refractory epilepsy receiving VNS therapy. This finding might reflect several factors, including the natural long-term dynamic of SUDEP rate, attrition, and the impact of VNS therapy. The role of each of these factors cannot be confirmed due to the limitations of the study. So, let me read that again. The role of each of these factors cannot be confirmed due to the limitations of the study. Like, is it worth reading the study then? So when I read that, I felt conflicted. Truly, I truly felt conflicted, as if, why would they put this information out then? I guess that's why they call it observational instead of factual study. You know, but once into it, you can go down through and find they have other articles that truly give a much better information than what they give in the actual study. If you open this study, it explains what's in some of these other ones here, but I did take the time last night to read when the nightmare becomes reality, That's rough. I'm not going to go into it tonight, into the actual article, but the idea is that somebody who lived with somebody who had epilepsy died. They died. Their loved one died. And now they have to live with that, with that pain, with that trauma, with that dismay, the wondering if they could have stopped it, wondering if there was something they could have done to help them. And you know, and that's not even fair to that person to sit there and blame themselves, because it's not like they gave the person the health issue. I really feel for people like that, because I worry that it's my wife that'll have to be that person. That it's my children that are going to have to deal with that. And that's scary. I'm only 36 years old. That wouldn't be fair to any of them. And so, while my research in my journey brought me to the information to find that, you know, I'm probably not qualified for the vagus nerve stimulator either, that doesn't stop me from being qualified from SUDEP. I could still easily become one of those 1 in 1,000. I'm a man without a treatment plan, who doesn't take medication, who has nocturnal seizures. So what do I do? I've had EEGs and MRIs, and they don't seem to tell me what I need to know. Well, last night we had company. My mother, she is a licensed psychologist, doctor of psychology. She had found, I was telling her what I was working on. And I figured, you know, maybe she can get her hands on something I wouldn't typically find. She did. She did. And so I spent today learning about the transcutaneous vagus nerve stimulation. Didn't even know it was a thing. Apparently, I don't have to get something implanted in me. I can get a device that just shocks me, that I just carry around, and when I feel like it, I shock myself. They can't do the therapies in the hospital because you got to do them 3 times a day. And some of them are for like 30 minutes and stuff, is what I was reading. And that's obviously, you can't just sit in a doctor's office all day and do that. So they had to come up with a couple devices. And unfortunately, only a couple of the companies have survived. They've unfortunately truly fallen victim. Man, really, I am going to just chit chat a minute about what I found here. Well, I restart my computer. I don't know what else to do. It's still
still just sitting there spinning on me. I don't know what's happening.
So, oops, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think it is that these non-medicine big pharma ways aren't solutions, aren't the ones that they're exploring? Why do you think it is that that's always the medication that they're exploring?
Because that's the easiest one. Those are the ones that the FDA have verified.
But why? Why is that their focus? Because it's a lifelong medication that somebody's going to have to take. They have a lifelong patient of somebody taking that medication, as opposed to something that they do once, and it, and
that's been one of my biggest concerns about this all along, has been the sheer fact that I'm allergic to most things. So when we go into the doctor's offices, because we started my journey in California, and then we were in Massachusetts at Leahy, and then we were in Hammett, and then we were at UPMC, and then we were here in Wilmington and New Hanover, and then we were out at Duke recently. And it's like, I've been all over, and every time I go, I tell them, I've had mono, I have a fungal skin disease, I have epilepsy that nobody's ever been able to diagnose, and I'm allergic to most things. And they're like, let's try medicine.
And what people don't realize too is that a lot of the things that you get, like Lyme disease, it doesn't just like I deal with Lyme disease, it doesn't just go away. It stays within your system. It can come back out. It never fully goes away. It can be in remission.
That's exactly it. You're in the same boat as me with that Lyme disease as I am with the mono and the fungal skin disease.
I had mono when I was a teenager. I had no idea that it was like something that, that would be with me forever.
Yeah, it sure is, and I'm sure it doesn't help you with your Lyme's disease either. Is one of the key things is if your immune system is weakened for any reason, mono comes back out, and so you'll start to notice your body start to get more tired, and your brain start to be less able to be active. You'll be like less creative and stuff. It's weird. Yeah. Like I didn't know that it affected me that much until I had it come back out when I had my immune system down, when my kidneys were shutting down, and my mono came back, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't even know my mono would come back.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. That was like my fungal skin disease. All it takes is for me to eat too much sugar or too much bread or yeast or any of that kind of stuff, or go outside and play in the sun for too long, and that's it. There we go. I'm stuck freaking with these big welts all over my body. I mean, it starts to itch between my fingers and my toes and my cracks of my everything, armpits, elbows, it's awful. It's so awful. And we go in and we say to the doctors around here, in the rest of the world, sporotrichosis or sphagnum moss disease is the most common fungal skin disease there is in the world. I got it from pressure washing a house and scratching myself with barberry. And sphagnum moss is that green crap that grows on the side of your house. And I got it in my cut, and my immune system was down at the time, and so I was drinking pretty heavily. They call it the drunken rose gardener's disease as well, because people that drink a lot and get pricked by by roses tend to have it as well. So
and that information is just not commonly known. Like, it's just
my doctor didn't even know
about this stuff. They don't talk about how your diet can affect, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you go to a doctor and they know about nutrition. No. They get like barely.
Yeah, we told the doctor about it. Like,
we did our own research and we told the doctor what he had.
We told the doctor.
Oh no, you did your own research?
It took a while. It took me 8 months.
They tried to give him steroids at first, but if you give
they gave me steroids and it made it way worse.
Steroids make me crazy. Like, they make me like,
I'm an asshole anyway.
like roid rage. Like I am not myself. I am like an angry fucking person. Like I can't take them.
Well, I tell you what, when we went into Duke and I said to the doctor, I said, but I'm allergic to everything and I have a sporotrichosis. He goes, oh, you probably don't have that. I said, okay,
why did they automatically doubt you? Why did they automatically doubt or downplay? Like, how are you supposed to trust these doctors if they doubt you and they downplay everything?
Everything I said to that guy, he would disbelieve me on. When I told him that the Excopery, I took one pill, I took it for 1 day and had the side effects. It says right in the medical thing and the form that came with it. It said, if these happen to you when you take it, immediately stop and tell your doctor. And so I did it. It took me like 3 days. I had a seizure the next day. Yeah.
Like 4 days.
Yeah, it was bad. It screwed me all up. It screwed up my skin. Like it messed me all up. It was scary because I mean, it happened so fast. And so when we went in, it told me, oh, you got that from one pill, 1 day's worth of medication.
Yeah, mocked me almost.
I took one. So I took something for restless leg once, right? Like, because this is before I was taking the magnesium, and this is how I found out. My doctor, after prescribing me medications that I had severe side effects, I took this one pill one time.
Wow.
I was like in this crazy state of mind. I remember like a little while after taking it, I called the pharmacy because I'm like, I can't talk. Like I'm starting to talk like I'm drunk and I'm slurred and I'm like, what is going on? I'm like, is this like, do I need to go to the hospital? Like, what do I do? You know? And then slowly as time went on, like within like hours of taking that medicine, I started feeling like really like, really worn down and woozy and sick. I laid down. I literally became catatonic where I couldn't speak.
Shit.
And I was laying there like just like frozen. And then I couldn't move my body. And I'm literally, I felt like I was just like a ton of bricks. Like I couldn't move. I couldn't talk. And I'm like, oh my God. Like I'm sitting there like, holy shit, is this fucking shit gonna kill me? Like I didn't know what to do. And I had my ex there at the time. This was years ago, and I couldn't even tell him. I couldn't tell him I need to go to emergency room. I'm having a reaction to this medication. Like, because I was literally just like laying there. I couldn't move my arms or my legs or anything. And the feeling that I had, it felt like I was the size of my neighborhood. But like really super heavy and like weighed down in the bed. I couldn't move. And I eventually went to sleep and like just never took it again. But it was super scary. It was super scary. It was awful. Like that's the kind of, I get side effects from medications too. That's why I was like, when you're saying that, I'm like, yeah, I get it. Like and sometimes, you know, they don't believe you. Why is it that the doctor's first reaction is to not believe you? How is that their first reaction?
It always seems to be too. I don't understand why it always seems to be. Here, check this out.
Oh wait, where did you go?
Hi.
Oh, you went to the computer?
Can you believe it? I fixed it. It only took all that time.
Hey,
Only took 28 minutes. That's all. No big deal. Good.
We got through it.
Good thing you got cell phones, because that just saved the show.
Lucky I took Zoloft one time and it made me feel like that.
I
couldn't move my arms or legs, and I was just laying there in bed. I could stare off and I started like hallucinating.
It's crazy.
And I was like, what is going on? I'm like, I couldn't move my arms. I could turn my head and I could blink, but I couldn't like move my body.
I had a very similar thing happen when we used to take Flexeril and Soma together.
They had me on Flexeril.
It gives you like Parkinson's. Your arms, you can't hold your arms up. Like you can't light a cigarette or whatever. Your arms just keep falling at your sides. You're just like, oh my God.
Yeah, you ain't kidding.
That happened. I'm like, oh my God.
So we went down to Florida, and I was taking Flexeril at the time just because I was having seizures and it was causing my muscles to cramp up, and so they were giving me the Flexeril to help my muscles release.
That shit knocks me out. Like I'm just out. Like
yeah, I got used to it after a little while. I could take it and just go. I was fine. I could do it, smoke bowl, no big deal. I gave one to my buddy. I didn't think anything of it. I gave it to him. He was mad at me for months. He was mad at me. I was like, it's a muscle relaxer. It's not like a pain pill or nothing. Just a muscle relaxer. He's like, oh, okay. Because he told me he had been working out all day and his muscles were all cramped up. I was like, well, this is what I take. I mean, they prescribe them to me. He was mad at me. He's like, dude, I went to my fiance's parents' house the next day for dinner. And I took it before I went, like, oh, maybe this will help me be relaxed for dinner and stuff. He's like, I'm sitting there on the couch, like half dead. They thought I was on heroin or something. I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I was like, I felt bad. I didn't, because I mean, I take them every day. I didn't think anything of it. And now I stopped taking them though. I got to a point where I couldn't, I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't take them anymore. They started to catch up to me. Like I would realize, like I'd take them in by like 3 p.m. if I wasn't like out doing something. Dead asleep. But so now the last thing I want to cover is somacoma. the last thing I want to cover is this was an article my mother had left for me here. When she came by yesterday for our early Thanksgiving that Laura made us our fantastic pie for, the transcutaneous vagus nerve stimulation. Turns out there once again not a lot of research, not a lot of companies with the product, and once again when the companies went under, so did all their information, apparently. That still shocks me. I don't understand that. That's like one thing I'm not getting about medical research so far as being a business major who when I go looking for statistics and stuff, I need to know everything so I can compile as much information as possible to get the research information and get the result of the study that I'm trying. And this, I'm like, man, there's so much missing. There's so much missing. But this article took me a few hours, took me a couple hours to get through this one. Some of it's certainly above my brain grade, but it had some very, very, very important information, not just about the transcutaneous, but also about the vagus nerve stimulation itself, and the correlations and what things would work properly in comparison to the two, which I was like, oh, that's fantastic. That is fantastic. Because I wanted to know all of this. This is exactly what I was setting out for. You know, what were they looking for? Well, this was an FDA-approved treatment for both pharmacoresistant depression and epilepsy, and can produce clinically meaningful antidepressant and anti-seizure effects. That's what they went in thinking. Oh, wow. Well, turns out that the transcutaneous vagus nerve stimulation wasn't as limited as the vagus nerve stimulation. With the vagus nerve stimulation, they're basically stuck to the left side because they thought they had found when they were doing the studies on dogs that the carotid artery was very close to the vagus nerve. So they had to separate it. And so they've made it FDA approved to only go to the right side. But through further research and through their research with the transcutaneous, they found, one, they don't have to hit right into that spot. They can hit other places like on the little tips of your ear right here, like on these little tabs on your ear. There's nerves that they're connected into there. There's different size nerves. There's different types of nerves. There's different where the nerves go and how they send the signal once the signal is sent to them. How much power in relation to where it's put, in relation to what it actually helps. Well, it turns out they were helping a lot more than just epilepsy and depression. Excellent information. Now, let me confirm real quick. Of course, I opened the wrong one. I had it open here. 5. Bada bing, bada boom. I believe I have this link. Yes. So this link will be available. Frontiers critical review of transcutaneous vagus nerve stimulation challenges for translation to clinical practice, frontiers in .org. So that is in the thing. So that link will be available. This entire thing, I was able to download it, put it onto my computer. I'm looking at it on on my screen as the actual study, how it comes out. If you read it on the internet, the writing was really small and hard to mess with, and didn't have colored pictures and all that. So it's worth downloading. Some of the things I found, some of the things I learned, they can do a lot just with the ear. They didn't even have to go into your nerve system. They didn't have to start digging in. They didn't have to go to your neck. They didn't have to do a lot of things with a couple of the products, which is fantastic because that takes away a lot of the side effects that I'm going to try and discuss here as quick as possible. What they started to find was that it worked for many things: depression, epilepsy, tinnitus, migraines, pain, just like different pain. They also, it doesn't say it in that section right there. I'm not seeing it in here. They had another section that they were talking about in here as well, where they had brought up correlation to stomach issues and such.
It sounds pretty cool to me.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. The fact that they're able to do this type of stimulation without having to cut you open, without having to implant a damn thing, is something you have to carry it around with you. Yeah. So it's a slight inconvenience. But I mean, even if you have you already carry a cell phone. And the vagus nerve stimulator, if you want to have one of the things that help you, you have to wear this thing that's like a watch. Yeah. And it goes up and you put it up to your thing and it sends you a shock. So like, say you're having a seizure, or I'm having a seizure, you can come up and grab my wrist and stick it up to me and give me a shock and send it up to my vagus nerve, and it should shorten the duration of my seizure and my postictal time, which is neat. But when they're talking about it, they're talking about people that don't really have a quality of life. It's not really people like me who only have a few seizures here and there, and they're really deep ones. They're completely different. They're not like the focal partials and stuff like that. I have the generalized full-on tonic-clonic, so I flop around like a fish. And
recently your seizures have changed, though.
Yeah, and the thing is sometimes they start in the front, sometimes they start on the right, sometimes they start on the left, sometimes they start in the back.
But it doesn't matter for the vagal.
That's it. Luckily, This goes to everywhere.
Yeah.
So they also were able to find that there were a lot of different places they could put it. Like I said, it wasn't just, it was no longer just sticking it right to having to go right to your vagus nerve. You now could have one that goes right up to your neck. Are you looking at it right there, La? So there's the one that has the two. It kind of looks like the end of a battery or something. And then they have one that tucked into the ear, and then they have one that clips onto that little tab on your ear. And each one of them sends a different type and different strength of signal. There were only 2 companies, they said in 2018, there were only 2 companies left that were still making the product that did this stuff. So I don't know if things have changed since 2018. I really hope that, pardon me. I really hope that since 2018, they've learned some more stuff about this. Because it really seems like even then they were really on to some really cool information. They really learned that they could not only help people with epilepsy and depression, but people with just pain, just random pain. They were finding that when somebody would put the stimulator to them for 15 minutes, they would get up to a half an hour of relief, and after taking it off. So they would get the relief for while they used the stimulation, and then would also get a half an hour of relief after. And then it would gradually, their pain would start to come back. It wouldn't immediately just like 30 minutes, like, oh, it was like it would gradually come back. So by partway through the day, they would just stimulate again and let it gradually get to a point where they couldn't take it anymore and stimulate again. And that's how they were avoiding doing it too much. But that was one of the things. They couldn't determine what was too much. How much was too much? Right. Well, they did determine that 50, yeah, if I find it in here real quick, I will. You don't want to misquote. Yeah, I don't want to say it improperly for sure. They despite electrical current values being reported, the amount or amplitude of energy delivered to tissues is largely unknown, given to substantial effect of electrode and tissue impedance and the need for precise placement. Stated current of 8 milliamps presupposes that there is no impact of tissue impedance variation and therefore voltage, and also neglects waveform shape, rise fall time, or any resultant residual charge. The stimulation current is often set according to the subject's sensitivity or just below their pain threshold. Now that's given the different stimulation tolerance of different participants, stimulation amplitudes vary over a wide range from 0.5 milliamps in Long Keys, they stated in Long Keys et al. 2018, to 12 milliamps they stated in the Trevisol et al. 2016. Undoubtedly, the stimulation electrochemistry also contributes to the maximum current that is tolerated by the participant. So, I mean, here we are. With regard to stimulation frequency, the currently used range of 20 to 30 hertz has never been validated for its therapeutic effects. Following studies showing that stimulation frequencies of 50 hertz and above can cause major and irreversible damage to the vagus nerve during VNS, stimulation frequencies between 20 and 30 hertz were arbitrarily selected in order to limit adverse events associated with direct stimulation of the carotid sheath and were subsequently approved by the FDA. So what that says to me is they know 50 is too much. They can't verify whether 20 and 30 is too much. They don't have enough research. They know that it's working.
How long has it been going on for?
They've been doing this study since like 2002 or something originally.
Oh, okay, so a long time.
Yeah, they've been messing with this thing for like a decade, but they where the amount of power and stuff wasn't straight from this study. It was from other studies
you personally could go join one of these studies if it's still ongoing.
Exactly.
Just get one of those
In fact,
things on your ear and just be a part of it.
I
and see
literally
what it
could get,
does.
I could see about getting one of those transcutaneous. But then the thing is then just like the vagus nerve simulator, there are side effects. There were things that made me nervous.
But then you
like
just take it off, right?
That's on the ear ones. If the ear one will work for me, then yes. If it's the throat one though, the one that you have to put right here on your neck, I guess on the left side, there's risks. Hoarseness of voice. It can mess up your voice box. And you're basically electrocuting yourself. I mean, giving yourself a little shock.
Well, we can just do that anyway.
So
I'll just stick a fork in the outlet. I mean,
is it kind of like, I mean, to me, I have a TENS unit. You know, I don't really use it, but it's like,
yeah, similar.
Kind of like that same kind of concept, like with a
TENS
only
unit
it's or like a
only
taser.
It's very directly into it, and a little more oomph.
Now, what would happen to somebody, just out of curiosity, because this reminds me of like a taser or a TENS unit. Now, what if like, you know, if somebody tased you, like a cop, or you know what I mean, they tend to use those. Couldn't that like throw somebody with epilepsy into like,
yeah. You know? Oh yeah, I can get real screwed up from a taser.
I think we should cover that angle of it at some point, just because like
we'll definitely have to go over that one at some point. We're definitely running out of time here tonight, but I definitely want to go over this real quick. But yeah, they can be a real bummer for somebody with epilepsy.
Yeah, I'm just thinking like, I mean, I wonder how many people like don't realize that they have epilepsy because they had seizures at night like you did. And, you know,
all it takes is to get shocked and all of a sudden you're in a seizure and now all that cop is sitting there and everybody's standing there going, uh-oh, what do we do? You know?
Yeah.
And if you, like you said, if you're somebody who doesn't know that you have epilepsy and now all of a sudden you're having a seizure because you just got power shocked and
no, that was your
gateway. That's what. Yeah, that could be your gateway. Like some.
They say that some people have trauma and stuff, and they don't have those. They don't see their triggers until they have a really big trigger, and then now they're an epileptic technically.
Yeah, they worry that some of my brain injuries from when I was younger might be what it was from. It could also be the fact that my mother's water broke like a month before I was born, and the doctors just didn't know, and I lost a whole bunch of weight. I was like 3 pounds 4 ounces when I was born. So I mean, there's a lot of potential things that could be why I have the issues I have. But you know, like always, I push on. I don't let the world hold me down. But allow me to.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just like suddenly thought of that, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh no, you're fine.
I'm like, holy shit, that could really, throw somebody into.
It's scary. It really is. But although the tVNS, the transcutaneous vagus nerve stimulator, is on the whole well tolerated as a treatment option, a number of different mild side effects have been noted, which Redgrave et al. 2018 summarized in the review. Common side effects including tingling or pain around the stimulation site, with some participants reporting itching or redness. Like, oh, great. So like infection type stuff. That's good. Other less common side effects that have been observed in 1% of the study population include gastrointestinal issues, such as nausea or vomiting, headache, heart palpitations, facial drooping, dizziness, vocal hoarseness, and nasopharyngitis. There is currently no study that links stimulation parameters or dose to the rate of side effects experienced, which should be a priority for future research in the field, and clear reporting of both side effects and stimulation parameters is important to be able to observe any trends. So, I mean, they're learning, and it's a curve with any type of medical treatment. There's a curve, and you gotta have people that are willing to work with you in the curve to be part of those research studies. And I'm almost at a point where I'm about to start seeking out one of these research studies for these ones. One of the other things that I just want to cover real quick before I sign off here, The closed loop protocol will require continuous measurements of behavioral outcomes or brain activity, since behavioral measures are often imprecise. It is preferable that imaging techniques such as EEG or MEG be used during the stimulation protocol to study neural activation and information transfer. The EEG signal has low spatial resolution that makes it difficult to interpret brain network connectivity. In contrast, MEG imaging has higher spatial resolution than EEG and higher temporal resolution than fMRI. The reconstruction of neuronal activity sources from MEG has less sensitivity to model approximations and smaller localization errors than EEG construction. The MEG is sensitive to a wide range of frequencies in the oscillatory brain signals and has a full brain coverage. There exists various techniques to reconstruct the anatomical origin of brain activity from MEG signal. When the structural MRI scan is available, it is possible to co-register MEG signals to an anatomical locations. These advantages of MEG offer a powerful tool to study the connectivity between brain areas and analyze brain networks and function. So one thing I can say is that through all of this, I've never had an MEG. Nobody's ever come and said, hey, you should try one of these ones instead. Maybe you'll learn more. They've given me a bunch of EEGs and they see the seizures and they can't tell me why I have them. They've given me MRIs and say, well, we can't find any lesions or any brain damage or tumors. So it's not that. Okay, well, great. Though I did not come to the information that I was hoping to find, that, oh, cool, this thing's going to work out for me. I hope the information I did find was handy to some other people. And it did bring me to this. It did bring me to some other information, some other things that are going to benefit me. A checklist. How simple. How stupid of me to wait so long to do something so simple. You know, to have things like making sure that we have the steps ready for if I start to have a seizure, that my wife has all the things ready and set, and we have the checklist ready and for what needs to happen, so she doesn't have to panic in those moves. I mean, she's been doing it for years now, so she's in much better place. But it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I appreciate everybody coming out. That came out tonight. I know I'm not very good at getting into the chat. It's tough to look at the StreamYard chat and the YouTube chat at the same time. Unfortunately, I see some of the messages pop up, but a lot of times I'm reading the information on a different screen entirely, so it's hard for me to check up on it. But I do appreciate everybody coming out. If you know anybody that struggles with this affliction and can find some solace and some companionship, send them our way. Because what do you know? You're not alone. I'm Drizzle Stank. This is Drizzle's Tank. Our new album, Glitchy Farms, available on Bandcamp. I got a couple albums also available on there. Lucky Show's coming up here in about an hour. I'm sure we'll have some fun stuff to talk about. I know she's got a fun week planned, so everybody head on over to Fearlessly Authentic's Lucky Burrito around 9 o'clock, and I'm sure I'll be in there and able to come and chit chat. If you guys have any questions, I'll get the email. I looked for it and I still can't find the stinking thing. It's sitting somewhere here. Me and Steve just made it the other day, so there is an email. It's like Fearlessly. I don't remember. I looked and looked, so I'll put it in the description. It'll be in the description. I'll put it in my community tab on my YouTube as well, and I'll put it on my my Facebook as well. And I think I can put it on Instagram too. So thank you everybody for coming out. Everybody have a great week, and yeah, stay up. Because what do you know? You're not alone. Peace.